Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, so forgive me. But yesterday, on the 22nd of November 24, we had the new Opeth album. There hasn't been an Opeth album since 2019's Included Venimum. So really been a while since we've actually had an album. And I've been listening to the album since it came out yesterday and really absorbing it. It's a complete return to, more or less, to a lot of the old stuff. I'm hearing elements of Blackwater Park. I'm hearing elements of Ghost River areas. I'm even hearing elements of the older, even older stuff, Myhurst, that kind of thing. Orchard, all the classics. What it represents to me is an album that mixes all those elements together, but also refines and takes in the elements that they've been playing since Heritage. So 2011 Heritage. But this album signifies that, and it's called The Last Will and Testament. I'll show you the record as well. This album signifies that they have gone back to that heavy growl sound, that elements of death metal in certain aspects, but having that edgier Opeth sound. And Mikael Arkerfield has brought the growls back after, since Watershed. And as a result, this feels like a complete package in terms of discography from Opeth, back catalogue, what they, have developed over the years since then and have added it in here. Now, the record itself is really, it emphasizes on the album, which is very dark in itself. And it's actually a concept album about a story in World War I, coincidentally, in the gatefold, because it is a gatefold with 2 discs. You have a nice Victorian, almost Victorian element shot, the whole band, Mikael, all the other band members. The new drummer here, Walt, is very good. As a massive Lopez fan, I missed Lopez's groove when he was in the band. But this new addition drummer he's awesome. He really is. He no one has that groove like, Lopez, as far as I'm concerned. But he really brings a lot to the table. And I think they even said in the interview that Walt here has basically injected new life into the band. I mean, he's a young guy. He's full of energy. He's really technical drummer, very clean. And I think he does a great job. And to be honest, I like Dax, but I think this guy he's really brought something to the table and has elevated the band a lot. So this is the gatefold. We have a logo here. Some sort of royal thing, I do not know. And a nice picture, again, of the band at the back here to give a, this old school look at it. And I have the silver opaque version, which I'll show you, which is kind of special limited edition one. And yeah, so we'll look at the record itself. If I open up the record, it actually is silver, so that's nice. I'll try not to break it here so we can just get it out. Blop, there we are. It's silver and there's a pretty cool reflection to it. Very weighty. It's a 180 gram one disc. I need to clean this afterwards. You should never pick up a disc like this, like I'm doing. Sorry for that. And there are 2 of those, and it's at 45 RPM, by the way. So you need. I have a direct drive vinyl player, and I have the 45 RPM option. If you didn't have a direct drive, it's not going to be as good, to be honest, with a belt. You need a direct drive. But anyhow, I always like 45 RPM because it gives a more accurate version of the speedy settings and actual generation of the sound. I always find it's a really warmer, fuller tone at 45 RPM. So that's really cool that they decided to do that. So that's basically it. You have this kind of inside cover, and I haven't read the contents. I will do. It looks very interesting in terms of contents. but some history and the concept behind this album. So that's that. So the actual tracks themselves. Now I've been listening to the album a lot since it came out, and I can really say, firstly, it's going to take you a while to digest it. Like most Opeth, nearly all Opeth albums are the same in terms of what you have to invest to really understand them. But what I've digested so far in this album, for me, is probably the best album since Ghost Reverie Areas. That's how I feel. Watershed was amazing. I liked all the quieter stuff like Heritage, Sorceress. Yeah, really. I mean, Sorceress was a great album for me. But this really starts off. You know, you have the eerie footsteps, and you get a tone that this band are in this dark realm that they were used to. Their sound was developed for previously, and the whole album basically follows through in that manner. So yeah, the whole album is a return back to the older sound, mixed in with elements from the sounds of all the other albums in between this lead up. So chapter 1 starts with some heavy footsteps, and it basically foretells how the whole album is going to play out, the darkness, the tone. As soon as, that was the first track they released as a single, it was the first time we've heard Mikael do growls on any new tracks. Yeah. So it was really quite eye-opening to come back to that sound, but it's projected very well here. And like I say, this album has a theme in terms of World War One, etc., and has a story, and you can go and read it up. And in fact, in this leaflet here, or the booklet, I'm going to read up what that means exactly. But that goes back to buying an album on a record as opposed to clicking on Spotify, because you really get to appreciate what the album is as a package, and it also just sounds better as well on a record. Much cleaner, much more whatever, audio snobs. So into chapter 2, it's again, it's actually one of my favorite tracks on the whole album, chapter 2. It starts off kind of like a ghostly introduction, then it just full out goes into the stuff that you would probably hear on the really earlier records. And I'm even going back before Blackwater Park. We're talking about My Arms, Your Hearse. It even touches on those elements from their really early raw sound. And it's right here in this chapter 2. It just breaks out in this complete double kick, full out metal, growls, everything. And then breaks into different sections and jazz sections, and breaks into a weird danceable kind of almost on the line of funk elements groove. And chapter 3 follows that. We had that as a single as well. And then we get to chapter 4. Now I can't show you any of the chapters here, unfortunately, because there are none in the actual record itself. But chapter 4 happens to be also one of my favorite tracks. He has narration from Ian Anderson. He's in there, and he's also doing the flute as well. And the melody is amazing. It reminds me of something off Ghost Reverie Areas, where they have these amazing melodies on the guitars. And that is very present here. And it feels like it almost could come off that, but it kind of just more modernized in terms of what they've been doing. And it's actually one of my favorite tracks. It just is a really epic 7-minute track that just really just opens up the whole thing. And then we go into track 5. Again, it has that kind of elements of eeriness, softness, and then going into heaviness. And this follows into track 6 as well. But then you have a kind of more heritage sound about it when you get to chapter 6. So it sounds like it could come off heritage. So I really like what they did with this album, because they really packed everything down. They didn't have extended long tracks. It's just an 8-track album that's solid beginning to end with every single song. I can't really go deep into review yet, because you need time with Opeth. It needs to be there for a couple of months at least for you to actually understand what the hell's going on. And this album does require you to do that. It's no different. But in this case, we have all the elements that we know about Opeth, plus all the old elements as well, plus something else. So I think this, to me, is possibly, I would say, and I'll put it right out there, that it's the best album since Blackwater Park. That's for me, anyway. Needs a lot of investment. You won't get it, but you will do eventually. So just go and check this album out. You'll be really surprised. All the playing is amazing as well. Everyone plays well. The new drummer, Walt, is great. He's really brought a lot to the band. So yeah, if you like it, like, subscribe. Thank you.